and a hello to my pre-algebra class. I just wanted to give you a quick update on section 9.1 as I've been checking your grades, checking what you've turned in. Most of you are getting it pretty well, but there are a few things I just wanted to go over. Some of it is just you're not paying attention to the question being asked. If you look at the left of the screen here, those are the radicals. Those are the square root signs. A couple of them that are showing up in the book. The first one there, this one is your regular one that you normally see. It's just a regular radical. The next one underneath it is one that shows a negative sign in front of it. This negative sign is just telling you that whatever answer you get is going to be a negative version of it. In the future, many years in the future, you'll learn about imaginary numbers. Don't worry about that right now. That's just telling you that when you get an answer, it's going to be a negative. And this one down here is one that they use a lot and more in advanced math. It's the plus or minus. If you have the square root of 16, it could be negative 4 times negative 4, or it could be positive 4 times positive 4. Both of those give you 16, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So there's your answer there. It's a plus or minus. So when you would write the answer, it would be plus or minus, because it could be the negative version of it or the positive version of it. On the right side of the paper here, or the board, I guess you could say, is an example of working out a problem. We have the square root of a plus b. Well, what if a is 12 and b is 4? Well, then if we plug those in, we get 12 plus 4. 12 plus 4 is 16. The square root of 16 is something we should know already, but your calculator will tell you it is 4. You say, how do I check it? Well, go down to the bottom right here. 4 squared equals 16. That's your way of checking it. Does 16 equal what is in there? Square root of 16. That is correct. That's the basics of basics when it comes to working square roots and how these work out. Another thing I saw on your work that you turned in is, like I said, you weren't paying attention exactly to what is going on. This is going to be the same question, because in the written part of it, it'll say, find the square root of these numbers, and it'll give you 36. So what we have to do is, in our brains, put it underneath there, find out what is the square root of 36, and we get 6. I'd say about half of you, when it said find the square root, you squared 36 as your answer. Not what we're looking for. When it says square root, you're looking to find this process. And then if we see it like this, almost every one of you got this correct when you saw it written in this when it said to find the square root and they gave you the square root symbol. Most of you, I'd say almost every one of you, were able to get that correct. So you have to pay attention to how it's written. If it's asking for a square or a square root. When it says square root, even if it gives you a number without the square root symbol, that is what it's looking for. It is not looking for you to square it. Now we have one that's written out in equation form. So if it's written in equation form, when it has that equal sign in between, we've got to make sure we think of it as an equation. Follow our rules. We want to do the opposites of what are being presented to us. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. And so we have to figure out this equation using the rules we've been following all year long. We have a squared equals 9. Now, in our mind, what squared would equal 9? Some of you, boom, you're going to get it right off the bat. You know the exact answer. But even if you don't know the exact answer, which is always the fail-safe way in equations, follow our principles. We're trying to get a by itself, where there is a equaling something, and that will give us our answer. Here we have a squared. That means a times a is going to equal 9. So we have to figure out a way to get a by itself. The way we get a by itself is we are going to square root a squared. What we have to remember is whatever we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So we are going to have to square root 9 as well. The square root of a squared. What gives us a squared is a times a. So the square root of a squared is a. The square root of 9 is 3. Now, our answer for A is 3. But there's a caveat. There's something new you're learning to this. A could also equal negative 3. So we will write A plus or minus 3. That is how we work these out. That's how you work out all of these. You have another one that was on your problems. 400 equals y squared. Same process. We will square root 400. We will square root y squared. Y times y gives us y squared. What is the square root of 400? For those of you that don't know, you can factor it out. You can calculate it out. You can use your calculator. And you'll find out that 20 is the square root of 400. And that would be a plus or minus 20. And so when you have an equation form, you're going to work it out that way. You're going to follow your principles. Do the opposite action. And what you do to one side, you're going to do to the other. And the ultimate goal is to get the variable by itself. Once you do those things, that will give you your correct answer. So that should help you on the lesson 9.1 for pre-algebra.